is 5:03, so I will call to order this, what month is this? February meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners, and we have three here in person. We'll get our roll call in a minute. And do we have Jim?
No, he's not going to be here.
He's not going to be here. Okay, I didn't know if he was virtually. Okay, so could you start us with the roll call then?
Kathleen Mills.
Here.
Ellen Rodkey.
Here.
Israel Herrera. Here. And Jim Whitlatch is absent.
Okay, so we do have a quorum today, and we will start with, as always, our consent calendar. And this is all of our usual business report, credit card refund, and not really any surplus this time, but some templates and smaller agreements that we've had a chance to see over the last few days. We do need to pull out one of our items to vote on separately because there was a typo.
Sure. So I'll make a motion to remove A15 from the consent calendar.
Second. Okay. And then those in favor, do we need to do roll call for? No. Okay. All those in favor of removing A15?
Aye.
Okay. So that is removed, and then the remaining consent calendar items, do you want to move?
Yeah, I can make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second. Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion is carried. And then A15 is Winslow Sports Park 2026 concessions agreement, which we just need to correct the amount on that, and then we can vote on that separately. Okay.
So I'll make a motion to amend that the contract amount to $2,500 for the Winslow Sports Park 2026 concessions agreement.
Okay, and all those in favor of that amendment?
Aye.
All right, motion is carried. Kim, is that enough on A15? Okay, all right. Okay, and then we will move on to section B in our public hearings and appearances. And first up, we have the Bravo Award that Julie Ramey will tell us about. No umbrella for the Bravo? Oh, okay, all right. I was like, because, it's going to storm, so.
Good afternoon. I am Julie Ramey, the Community Relations Manager, and it is my pleasure to present today's Bravo Award for Outstanding Volunteer Service to David Skirvin. David has been with the Bloomington Parks Foundation for 23 years, and he recently ended his tenure with the Bloomington Parks Foundation. In 2002, he was invited to volunteer with the foundation by our legendary Board of Parks Commissioner member, Les Coyne. And David had recently retired from Indiana University after 35 years of service to the university, and his recruiters recognized his strong interest in parks and recreation and his skill in logistics and organization, which made him an ideal candidate for the foundation. He joined the foundation board in 2002 and remained actively involved for more than 2 decades, including service as president in 2024 and past president in 2025. And when I asked David to reflect on his time with the foundation, he said that when you're on the board, you tend to get wrapped up in the challenges that an organization faces. However, his passion for parks and his behind-the-scenes dedication to, as he says, dot the I's and cross the T's, has helped make the foundation more efficient and effective. And the Bloomington Parks Foundation's successes are highlights of the great work done by the Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department. We are deeply grateful for the years of service by David Skirvin and all our Bloomington Parks Foundation members, and are especially happy to present David today with, yes, an umbrella and a commemorative certificate. And I'd like to invite David to the podium to say a few words.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Julie, and thanks to everybody, Tim and everybody with the Parks Department. There's little more that I can say in terms of what Julie has just said. It has been a labor of love over the last 2 decades plus. Thanks to Les Coyne, Joanne Alcott, I remember, was very instrumental when she selected me or made me, posed the opportunity for me to join. But, you know, as I've said to Julie and I've said to others over the years, it's easy to be on a support board for an organization that is so successful and so prestigious. And I've also mentioned to you, Tim, and to your predecessor, Paula, and even to Mick Rinneisen over the years, if I were living my life over again and I chose a different career path, I worked at Indiana University, which was a great career, by the way, but I think people that work in Parks and Recreation are truly the salt of the earth. I really enjoy working with you all and the things that you do to make Bloomington such a great community. It truly is an asset to living in Bloomington, Indiana. So thank you for everything, and thank you for this. It's very opportune on a day like today.
Yes.
I think we have a tornado warning till 9 o'clock, so hopefully I won't be Mary Poppins and have to use it. So,
Yeah.
so thank you again. I really
Yes,
appreciate it.
thank you, David.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So photo, I'll be back in.
All right. Thank you for those decades of service to the board. And next up, in our B2, we have a staff intro from community events intern Grace Olson.
Hi, first I want to say thank you for allowing me to come up here and introduce myself. My name is Grace Olson. I am the new intern in the Recreation Services Department. I'm finishing up my degree at IU studying Parks, Recreation, and the Outdoors. And I have developed a very strong passion for outdoor recreation, conservation, and community outreach. And growing up in Michigan, I would frequently take trips to the Upper Peninsula where I discovered my love for hiking, camping, and being outdoors, and therefore became a Parks and Rec major. I am excited to apply what I have learned in my coursework and hands-on experience to support Bloomington Parks and Recreation, and I've loved my experience so far. Through my studies at IU, I've gained valuable knowledge in several areas such as event planning, ecosystem management, resource development and fundraising, and many more. As I'm exploring career opportunities post-graduation, I'm excited about the variety of learning experiences coming my way to prepare me for a life in the field of Parks and Rec. My time here so far has been truly inspiring, and I'm very excited to be a member of the team. I'm looking forward to continuing this journey and contributing to the enrichment of the community through recreational opportunities and environmental stewardship. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome, Grace. Okay, and then on to our Section C, other business. At the last meeting, we neglected to elect our vice president. Don't take it personally. So in C1, we need to elect a vice president for 2026. So I will move that we elect Ellen as vice president.
Second.
All right, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion is carried. All right, and then Leslie Brenson in C2 will tell us about the Enright East Partnership Agreement for the year.
Good evening, Leslie Brinson, Recreation Division Director. I'm here to ask approval of the partnership/grant agreement with Area 10 on Aging for the Enright East Active Living Center. This grant/partnership is in the amount of $20,000. Due to the continued popularity in community sport and senior participation, the department would like to continue support of the Area 10 Enright East Active Living Community Center. Our funding helps support the daily operations of the center, which is located in the College Mall. Enright East is open Tuesday through Thursdays from 11 to 3 and includes a daily lunch option. The center continues to see consistent and promising numbers in both the membership and class participations. Park staff and Area 10 staff work closely on some joint programming and marketing of events that have similar demographics. Currently, we are hosting a walking program there 3 times a week and look to increase our health and wellness opportunities at the center as the year goes on. I've also included a few of their numbers from 2025 with their lunch meals served. They have 18 different programming options, including, several strength and balance, flexibility, walking, and of course, euchre, bridge, and mahjong, as any senior center should. I'd be happy to answer any questions about this grant opportunity.
All right, no, looks great. It's always been a good arrangement, so any questions for Leslie?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
make a motion to approve the partnership grant agreement with Area 10 on Aging for Enright East.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, thank you, Leslie. And then in C3, Sean Marlar will tell us about the agreement with Convergent Technologies for switchyard camera repair.
Good afternoon. Sean Marlar here. Staff recommends the Park Board approve the contract with Convergent Technologies for the repair and replacement of parts of the CCTV security system at Switchyard Park. There are there are exactly 55 cameras, and approximately 38 of them are non-functional due to a variety of issues from environmental exposure and, component failures over time. That flood we had a couple of years ago really hit that particular piece of technology pretty hard. This is a project we're working a lot with IT. Michael Crump from IT is here. He's the lead for the IT side. They're doing a lot of the specs and helped us quite significantly in determining what was needed, and they will work with Convergent on the repairs. I'm happy to answer any questions. Oh, and the amount is $68,896.
So the original cameras from 2019, were they with this company or a different Convergent, or they were
Yeah,
different
It
company?
was a different company. Presidio was the subs, but yeah, I don't know that. I
Okay.
think they were just the subs for that.
And since 38 of the 55 are not working, I mean, you mentioned the flood, but I mean, was there any sort of, like, did we get anything for those ones that aren't working? Is there any sort of warranty, I guess, is the question, or?
They are out of warranty. The warranty
Okay.
was only for a couple of, I forget if it was 2 or 3 years, but it was not that long.
Okay,
So.
okay. All right, other questions for Sean, or?
Do they have an estimation of like how long this set of cameras will?
That's a great question. Yeah, if you were able to hear Michael said that it would be very hard to predict the life cycle on technology like this.
Okay, just curious. Do you have other questions?
No?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Convergent Technologies for the replacement of security cameras at Switchyard Park.
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
And in C4, Kevin Terrell will tell us about the addendum with LRT for Banneker's step replacement project change order.
Thank you all. Kevin Terrell here, the Program and Facility Coordinator of the Banneker Community Center. You guys approved our STEPS project with Lithco Restoration Technologies toward the end of 2025. And this contract addendum adds $12,250 to that original contract agreed with them for the replacement and the refurbishing of our historic Banneker Community Center limestone steps. All this in accordance with the guidelines of the grantee, which was the IDNR and the Division of Historic Preservation and Archaeology. This additional funding, on top of what we already got, is needed based on the recommendations of LRT and with the approval of our principal investigator, Doug Bruce, of Tabor and Bruce, after they inspected the steps, after they did the initial demolition. They will fill the existing limestone blocks with grout, form and pour concrete under the first step, under the one block, and then under the landing, and replace 23 concrete masonry units, blocks, and the support walls under the steps and the landing, and fill space in between the blocks. Essentially, this will make it much safer, sturdier, and hopefully much longer lasting than what was done the last time. And I'll answer any questions that I can.
Okay. All right, any questions for Kevin?
I'll make a motion to approve a contract addendum with Lithco Restoration Technologies.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion is carried. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
And C5 is a partnership agreement with the Bloomington Community Orchard that Haskell will tell us about.
Good evening, Commissioners. Haskell Smith, Urban Forester. Staff recommends approval of the agreement with Bloomington Community Orchard for continued use of city parks and recreation property and cooperative program partnership through 2030. Slight updates have been made during this iteration, including language on some fencing and BCO's desire to build an educational shelter. There's no funding being supplied, just a cross-partnership. Mr. Josh David is here if you have any questions in regards to the orchard itself or any programming.
Okay, all right. And this shelter is within the enclosed, the fenced-in, okay, yeah. Yeah, before it snowed, I was over there, I don't know, more than just looking around. It's really nice, yeah.
Thank you. There's a lot of, sorry, I'll do the official thing. My name is Josh David. I'm ex officio board chair for the Bloomington Community Orchard. So I see some new faces up here. So I actually know it's been a couple years since our last renewal, and I just wanted to share some of the other accomplishments we've talked about. But then I'm happy to field any questions you have about what we're calling the outdoor classroom, but shelter. So we're big about food justice, food access, growing the ability for people to grow food for themselves, their neighbors, and each other. So while fruit is not always growing on the trees, we installed a little free pantry in the orchard to create year-round food access provided by us and the community. We installed a propagation station to transplant things that were growing at the orchard into people's private and public properties to grow more food collectively for each other. We also installed ADA accessible pathways to the orchard because we are designing to, or we're trying to be a model of access without financial capacity for food, which we see as a fundamental human right. And in doing that, we also wanted to make sure that people of all physicalities were also able to access the site in our educations. So we add more educational signage for self-service. We also launched a class sponsorship program to help pay local educators to teach free to the community classes at the orchard and around the community. And through that, we've been able to offer thousands of hours to thousands of volunteers to help cultivate this incredible 1-acre public food forest, which now serves as actually a model for both national and global audiences. Over the past 5 years, we've been contacted by more and more groups that are looking to start this. Originally, it was individuals in their communities, and now it's city officials who are actually reaching out to us. So through that feedback, we created not only a 2-page worksheet that helped guide people through the processes that we thought successful, but we also developed a how to start a community orchard handbook, which we've drafted and is out for feedback. So to help empower more and more communities based on the Bloomington model that you all have helped create a foundation for. And beyond that, I'm just pleased to announce that we're actually, even as an all-volunteer organization, celebrating our 15th anniversary. So a major accomplishment for us. But looking forward, we want to add more self-service activities, including for teachers in the community to use the orchard as an ongoing resource for their classes, youth groups, and otherwise. And then the outdoor classroom, which we see as a great space for refuge for volunteers, for meetings, for classes, and other smaller orchard events there at the site. So that's a little update, and I just want to say thank you all, and a big thank you to Tim and Haskell and Rebecca. I know Dave and Lee left big shoes to fill, and they have filled them very nicely and been a very wonderful group of leaders to work and collaborate with. So thank you all.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad it's going well. Thanks for the details.
Yeah.
All right. All right, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the partnership agreement with Bloomington Community Orchard.
All right, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion is carried, C5 passes. And then in C6, it's almost mowing time again. So Joanna Sparks will tell us about the renewal with Green Dragon.
Yes, good afternoon. Joanna Sparks, Urban Green Space Manager, and deep breath, spring is almost here. Okay. But yes, I'm here today to present an addendum to the pre-existing contract mowing agreement with Green Dragon to mow 20 properties for the Parks Department that we first entered into in 2004. This is a renewal that was option that was included in the contract, and this contract is for let me pull the other one, the next one, $108,405, and this basically is for 27 mowing cycles between April to the end of October, early November to, maintain turf with mowers and string trimmers.
Okay. All right, any questions for Joanna?
So the contract was signed in 2024.
Yes, yes, and we have the option to renew in 20, yeah, it's written into the contract, the option to renewal with the set price. So we have 2024 pricing for,
It says that the performance has been great for 10 years, so.
they were contracted with us prior to that for different areas for mowing services. The renewal is, yeah, 3 years, yes.
And the new company came in, and then this will be like the second time with the company? So they,
Green Dragon has contracted with the city for, I think, about 10 years. They've had contracts with different areas.
You mean, you know, the
They've been doing it for about 10 years, but with the way it's contracted, there's a 3-year renewal clause. So once you get outside of that 3-year renewal clause, it goes back out and gets bid again. And the same contractor may win it again, which is what's happened here.
Right.
And they've continued to do a good job.
Yes, yes, I'm sorry, didn't quite understand what you were fishing for.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with Green Dragon Lawn Care for 2026.
Okay, and all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion C6 is carried, and then Joanna also has renewal with 4U Lawn and Landscape for 2026 mowing.
Yes, and rinse and repeat with 16 different properties for, and a different vendor, for you, Lawn and Landscape Company, for the amount of $23,085.
Okay, all right.
And this one is new, correct? We haven't contracted with For You before?
No, no, this one is the same situation as
Oh,
the previous
okay.
contract. It is a part of a renewal of the 2024 contract. The request for quotes in 2024, we asked for 2 separate packages to be quoted, and we contracted, and there were 2 different vendors that got the lowest bid for
Okay.
respectively. So Green Dragon got the 20 properties we previously discussed, and For You Lawn and Landscape got the 16.
Okay.
so services will be different from one company to the other company, in other words, the previous one and this one?
Yeah, it's for 2 different,
Yeah.
2 different, like groups of locations.
I think the services are essentially
The services are
same,
identical.
just different
It's, yeah,
locations.
16 different locations, which are really small. They're
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
It's
public
like-
works properties throughout the city.
Yeah.
Little, yeah,
Yeah.
most trips here and there,
Yeah, little spots.
yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions, or?
I'll make a motion to approve the addendum with For You Lawn and Landscape for 2026.
Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion in C7 is carried, thank you. And then in C8, Mary Wells has the agreement with Ecologic.
Good afternoon. Mary Wells here, Natural Resources Manager. I'm here to recommend approval of the contract with Ecologic for ecological consulting and restoration services at Griffey Lake Nature Preserve, Miller Showers Park, and Switchyard Park. As you may remember, Ecologic is a trusted ecological restoration consultant and service provider here in Bloomington, and has worked closely with Bloomington Parks and Recreation for over a decade. Since 2016, they've delivered a range of consulting and ecological services, including floristic inventory, plant community mapping, deer browse monitoring, and ecological restoration and various vegetation management services. Excuse me, I'm a little choked up. Under this contract, Ecologic will build on their past work and expertise for various types of improved land management. So that will include the contract will be an ongoing deer browse monitoring survey that they started back in 2018 that is helping us make decisions on the success of our deer hunts by monitoring the vegetation at Griffey. And then they will also be continuing restoration services at various parks, including a new area in the wetland at Griffey, about 9 acres, where they're currently contracted to do some winter work. They're going to do some follow-up work under this contract. And then they will also be resuming their restoration activities at Miller Showers Park as well as Switchyard Park. Happy to answer any questions at this point.
Okay. Any questions for Mary about Ecologic?
No, I think
Okay.
we're good.
Oh, and I did not state the amount, so it's $57,749.39. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve the service agreement with Ecologic for Griffey, Miller Showers, and Switchyard Park.
Okay, second.
Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then in C9, we have the appointment of Erica Eason to the ERAC that Heidi will tell us about.
Yes, Heidi Shoemaker, Natural Resources Coordinator for the City of Bloomington. Just a brief update on this. Since the application came in, Erica has experienced a name change and is now Erica Myers, but all the qualifications still stand. So staff recommends appointing or approval of the appointment of Erica Myers to the Environmental Resources Advisory Council. This is a 2-year appointment, and the council is made up of 9 members. We currently have 2 openings. Erica is qualified for this position as a conservation specialist in soil and water conservation for Monroe County, and we believe she would be an asset to the council.
Yeah, we're always lucky to attract people with such good experience and
Yes.
education.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really nice fit that she's got that experience with the county.
So with Erica, there will be a seat one.
We still have 1 seat open. We have received 1 application, but no one will, not before the deadlines for this meeting. So hopefully we will have the next appointee at the next park board meeting.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the nomination of, or the appointment of Erica Myers to the Environmental Resources Advisory Council.
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you
Motion
so
is
much.
carried. All right, thank you, Heidi. And in C10, looks like Cody Martin will finish it out here in the last 3. First is the agreement with Bloomington Junior League Baseball.
Hi, Cody Martin, Sports and Facility Coordinator. Today I'm asking for the review and approval for our partnership agreement we've had for the last few years with Bloomington Junior League Baseball Association. They're housed mainly at Winslow Sports Park. They outgrew the park toward the end of the year last year, and so had some overflow at Twin Lakes Sports Park as well. Really good symbiotic relationship we have with them. Our revenue from Winslow was about $18,000 last year just from Bloomington Junior League Baseball.
That's great, yeah. Is that the first time they've needed overflow at Twin Lakes?
This was my first outdoor
Oh,
season.
yeah.
I know they didn't need it the season before, so I don't
Okay.
want to say definitively that it's the first time ever, but
Right.
in recent memory, yes.
Okay, all right, great.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with Bloomington Junior League Baseball for 2026.
Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion is carried for C10. And C11 is the similar agreement with Monroe County Senior League Baseball.
Yes, so same situation with Monroe County Senior League. We've been a partner for many years. They're housed mainly at Winslow Field 6, which is our larger baseball field on the complex. Rental fees, revenue last year was about $4,000. Would have been more if the rain would have stopped at any point in the first 3 months of the season. But again, great partnership, long-standing, and we just seek to keep it going.
Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with Monroe County Senior League Baseball for 2026.
Second.
All right, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion is carried for that one in C11. And then finally, C12 is a similar sort of agreement, but this time with Bloomington Football Club.
Yeah, Bloomington Football Club utilizes what used to be Winslow Field 5, primarily used for soccer for BFC for the last few years. revenue generated is about $8,000. Another really good partnership where, you know, there's a lot of give and take both sides. So again, we just seek to renew the same agreement.
Okay. All right.
Make a motion to approve the partnership agreement with Bloomington Football Club for 2026.
Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that motion is carried in C12. Thanks, Cody. All right, and then we move into Section D, reports. And first up, Tim is going to tell us about the strategic goals update.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tim Street, Parks and Rec Director for the City of Bloomington. Good to be with you tonight. It's always stormy every time we do this, it seems like, so why make an exception this time? Hopefully we get out of here before it starts raining too much. I also want to shout out Cody just for those last 3 items. It's a lot of work working with those partners and managing relationships and expectations and all those things, and I think that's going particularly well. So first up, agenda item D1 is just, we've done this periodically for the last couple years. An introduction of a progress update on our strategic goals. Reminder, these are sort of our last set of goals from our master plan that is, well, now done. We are in new territory now that it is 2026, and we'll be under the umbrella of the master plan that we are finishing now. But 92 of 114 goals on that list. It's a lot of goals. It does get into some ticky-tack stuff a little bit, but it's important stuff that we're tracking and monitoring. I will say, as we look to present our overarching master plan goals for the next 5 years to you soon, you're not going to see this amount. This is a more granular approach, and just a report for the park board, and something we like to bring before you for lots of reasons, including transparency, accreditation, feedback, all of those reasons. So I'm not going to dwell on that. These are goals you've seen before. You know, about 80% of them remain in play. Even if they're not done, they're on track to be done soon here in 2026. And we'll, of course, entertain any questions that you might want to get into on those.
Okay. Any questions about the goals? Other than the tiny, tiny font? No?
I think it's a really great, I mean, to see this comprehensive of a, you know, strategic plan for the year, and to be at the percentage of accomplishment that you are at is not surprising, because this is such a great department, but it's just amazing to see, and I hope that the public recognizes how hard you all work.
Yeah, and that is all down to our staff members. It all starts there. We have a wonderful staff, so all credit to them. Moving to D2 then, this is our master plan community survey results. So I'm going to introduce this, and then we have Jeff Andresen online from Acuity Research. He is going to just kind of talk through about a 10-minute overview of the findings that we have from our community survey results that have come back. Just a reminder, we are nearing the end of our master plan process. At this point, we've done all of the community input and engagement, going back to last spring. You know, late spring, we started with community focus groups, staff focus groups, the questionnaire through the summer that generated over 1,000 responses from community members when we passed it out at farmers market and concerts and things like that. On down into some more feedback this fall, and then ultimately the input from the statistically valid community survey, which is what this is. It took a little longer than we anticipated, I think, just lack of emails and having to rely on the US mail, which I do not recommend. Just took us a little longer than anticipated, but we did get to the sample size that we needed. And that said, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff. Jeff, you should be co-host, so you should be able to unmute and turn your video on, and Kim is going to pull up the PowerPoint and share it on Zoom. So give us just a second to transition here, and then Jeff, when we're all ready, we'll turn it over to you, and you can tell us when to advance the slides.
Okay, sounds good. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine.
Perfect. Thank you.
Kim, are you good to go?
Well, great. As Tim said, my name is Jeff Andresen. I'm president of Acuity Research and Insights. We're a full-service public opinion polling firm in Evanston, Illinois. We've done work for park departments, districts, school districts, cities, villages, libraries, all over for about 25 years. And tonight I'm going to provide an overview of some of the key takeaways from the quantitative, statistically valid survey that we conducted with residents within Bloomington regarding the Parks and Rec Department. The next slide shows just a high-level summary of our approach. I'm sorry, there are builds in here, so I thought I would be going through this, so you might have to click a couple of times to for things to appear. There we go. So our goal was to complete or receive completed surveys from a minimum of 400 residents. We did that, and the next bullet shows the dates of our data collection, essentially from mid-November through just before the Christmas holidays in December. Part of the delay is that that's just a difficult time of year to conduct a survey. People are busy with family and events and so on. Everybody who was sampled had three options to respond to the survey. They could do it online. They could fill out a printed questionnaire and mail it into us. We had a prepaid return envelope to our office so that we could process those. And we also gave a toll-free number that someone could call if they wanted to complete it over the phone with one of our live interviewers in Evanston. You'll see the vast majority of people opted for the online survey, and the rest completed the paper survey. Nobody requested a phone interview. In addition to the statistically valid survey, we gave the department the survey link and the QR code. So after we received responses from 405 sampled residents, the department made the survey link available to residents or users on the website, on social media, other channels, so that anybody outside of our sample who wanted to reply could do so. We compiled those responses separately, and those are provided in the full report overall. We had a very good additional response to that open survey as well. For our statistically valid sample of just over 400, we weighted it to adjusted census targets for Bloomington. The census includes demographic data for IU students who are obviously, for the most part, in Bloomington temporarily and turning over every year. So we adjusted those to focus more on permanent Bloomington residents, both homeowners and renters outside of the IU system. And for a sample of this size of just over 400, the maximum margin of error is just under plus or minus 5%. A full description of the demographics are provided in the full report, as well as a map on the next slide that shows the regional distribution of our respondents. And again, those percentages for the north, southeast, and southwest areas are the adjusted percentages for, again, more permanent residents across the city. So in terms of the key findings on the next slide, our surveys generally start very broad. We begin by asking people to give their overall opinion of the department on a 0 through 10 scale. Anything that is 6 or higher is a favorable rating. Anything 4 or lower is an unfavorable or negative rating, and a 5 is considered neutral. The vast majority, as you can see here, have at least a somewhat positive opinion of the department, and that includes 39% who hold you in the highest regard, giving you scores of 9 or more. On the other end, only 3% have a fully negative opinion overall, and the remaining 7% are neutral. Those are generally people who are familiar with the department, but not enough to have formed a strong opinion either way. To the right of that bar, you can see your average rating is a 7.9, which is very strong, very positive overall. And the good news is that, for the most part, that's consistent among most subgroups. No segment of our sample gave an average rating below a 6.6, which is still a solidly favorable rating. So everybody was 6.6 or higher, around that average score. The next slide will show the responses to a question that we asked about whether or not the respondent and their household feel that their household, their interests, their background are sufficiently included and represented by everything that the Parks and Rec Department provides in terms of activities, programs, events, engagement, and so on. Overall, about 9 out of 10, 91% of the respondents said, yes, we feel that we are sufficiently included and have enough access and representation in what's being offered. 9% disagreed, and the breakouts that you see here by age, whether or not they have children under 18 in the household, their region, or their length of residence, these are the only variables where there was a statistically meaningful difference between those yes/no responses, and where you can see the disagreement coming up a little bit higher than that average of 9% is among those who are 45 to 59 at 12%, households without children, 10% versus only 2% of those with children, residents who live outside of the Southwest region, so folks in the North and the Southeast regions are around 9 and 10%, and then longer-term residents of 10 or more years are all at 10% or higher. This reflects some of the open-ended feedback from those adults, older adults, and those without children, that if they feel underserved, it's because they're seeking more programs or activities for their age group or for their household. There's a perception among many that the Parks and Rec Department does a really good job of providing activities and addressing the interests of children, youth, and young families. But if someone doesn't have children or their children are out of the nest, so to speak, there may be more that they're looking for. We then, on the next slide, informed residents that in 2024, just under 2% of their property taxes went to fund the Parks and Rec Department, and asked them to rate the value that that 2% of property taxes represents given the programs, parks, facilities, and services that the department provides. Just over 3 out of 4 respondents said it's at least a good value for that 2%, and that includes almost half saying that it's an excellent value. So these are very, very strong value scores. The average 7.7 value score is directly in line with your overall esteem rating on average, and only 8% feel that you represent a poor value. Not surprisingly, those lower ratings are more likely to come from people who aren't using you. They say they don't visit the parks, they don't use your facilities, they're not attending events, they're not participating in programs. What those percentages represent is that for every one person saying that that share of their property taxes in their mind is a poor value, you have almost 10 people saying it's a positive value. So it's almost 10 to 1. Good value to poor value. And again, there's much more detail in the full report. On the next slide, you'll see the results from questions that we asked about their usage of the parks and recreational locations. 90% said someone in their household had been to one of your parks or trails or playgrounds in the last year, and we asked which ones. A majority mentioned going to the Beeline Trail to either Switchyard or Bryan Park. Almost half had been, or someone in their household had been to Griffey Lake, 40% the rail trail, and you can see the responses in rank order from there down. We're only showing the ones that received 5% or more of the overall response. And then on the next slide, we likewise asked about your recreational facilities in the past year. Almost 2/3 said someone in their household had been to one of your recreational facilities. And for those, we see more of an even spread. Most of them in the teens or low 20s, with Bryan Park Pool leading the responses, followed by the spray pad and dog Park at Switchyard, Twin Lakes at 17%, the Ice Arena at 14%, and so on from there. So then for anybody who said that they've been to one of your parks or facilities in the past year, we asked them to rate their overall satisfaction, 0 through 10 on a number of attributes, and those are shown on the next slide. And while your overall esteem and value ratings were very high, the satisfaction scores among the users, the actual people going to your parks and facilities, were even higher in terms of overall experience, the level of cleanliness and upkeep at those locations, accessibility, the safety factor, and the service from staff when they're interacting with staff. A majority, at least half, 50% or more, are completely satisfied with those attributes based on their experiences, and the vast majority are at least somewhat satisfied, with no more than 4% expressing dissatisfaction with any one of those attributes. And you can see to the far right that those average ratings of 8.0 or higher are consistently very high, outdoing the earlier ratings for your esteem and value. The one thing I'll call out here is the bottom attribute, quality of service from staff. It receives a lower average rating, still very strong, but just lower than the others. The main reason is to the left of that bar, you'll see 19% who are neutral. Those are mostly from people who say, I go to the park to walk my dog, but I don't really interact with any staff. I don't see any staff, so I can't give an opinion on how satisfied or dissatisfied I am. So the reason that average rating is a little bit lower is because we've got more people in that neutral response for staff service. For anybody who gave a rating of 6 or lower, we asked in an open-ended question why they're not more satisfied. I can go to the next slide. Thank you. To tell us why they're not satisfied and with which specific location or locations they're not satisfied. The responses to the left are from people who identified a specific park or facility. You can see the ones generally that come up most often are, those that are most visited in general, certainly Switchyard and Beeline, followed by Seminary at a distant third, and then trails in general. For most of those, certainly the top 3, the vast majority of responses regarding lower ratings for those had to do with perceptions of safety, concerns about likely drug use taking place in the parks, homeless people, unhoused people in the parks, and just a general concern about safety in those locations. For trails, it had more to do with just upkeep or preferences for fewer paved trails, preferences for more unpaved trails. To the right, those are the few responses that were just generally given without being attributed to any one location or any specific location. And again, you can see that safety concerns followed by upkeep were the top responses there. All of the numbers on this slide are numbers of cases. These are not percentages. So you can see that beyond the top few responses, a lot of these only got 2, 3, or 4 responses each. We then moved on to questions to gauge the level of demand and interest in some potential recreational facilities. These percentages show the level of interest or demand for each of these amenities. So 75% of the respondents said they're interested or like to use or would like to use more trails for walking, hiking, and biking. Just over 60% likewise have an interest in open space and natural areas, as well as amenities in the parks and near trails, such as benches, garbage cans, drinking fountains, etc. And then after those top 3, it drops off. 38% express demand or interest in some kind of water feature, a swimming pool or aquatic center. And then pickleball courts, ice rinks, outdoor sports fields, splash pads, etc., all hover somewhere around 14 to 27% each. So once we know what the level of demand is for each of these, we ask those who are interested in each how well that demand is being met. And we plot that on this quad chart. So the y-axis to the left, from 0 at the bottom to 100 at the top, reflects those percentages that we just saw. So if you look over to the far right, you'll see trails. If you draw a line over to that vertical axis, that's that 75% who said they're interested in trails. And then for park and trail amenities and open space, those were at 60 and 61% each. The x-axis, the horizontal axis, is the percent who said that their interest or usage or demand for each of those is currently being met mostly or completely. And you can see that when it comes to your facilities, whether it's in high demand or low demand, the majority of people, roughly 60% or more, say that that demand is already being mostly or completely met. Again, this is asked whether it's being met by the City of Bloomington Parks and Rec Department or any other provider. So whether the folks using your, with expressing an interest in pickleball courts are using your pickleball courts or going elsewhere for pickleball, they're telling us that they're able to find pickleball courts pretty readily. So none of these represent gaps for the city. And I'll tell you, and I've been on a number of these, worked on another of these studies with Jamie, this is unusual. Usually there's something in the, to the left of this, of this chart that shows some gaps, but for the features that we tested here, all of them are seen as being in good supply. The next slide, we wrap this up by asking them to identify the top 2 amenities or features that they would like to see be top priorities for the Parks and Rec Department in terms of prioritization for providing or improving or adding. The dark blue segment shows the percent giving that their number 1 priority. The light blue is their number 2, and then the sum percentage is off to the side. And you can see here when it comes to priorities, while trails still remains number 1, park amenities and trail amenities, while initially being tied with open space, becomes clearly a second priority over open space and natural areas in terms of priorities. And then beyond those, the responses in terms of prioritization drop further. You'll notice at the bottom that 17% feel that none of these are priorities. This is likely a combination of people who just simply are not active outdoors or recreationally or just not interested, or they're people who say, yes, I'm interested in an ice rink and my needs are currently being met. So I don't have a priority or an unmet need. For some facilities, we asked a willingness to pay questions, and we preface this by saying that the Parks and Rec Department is managing several aging facilities, and that major improvements and renovations would likely mean higher user fees and or property taxes to address those. Knowing that, would they support or oppose seeing improvements to the facilities that you can see here? 4 out of the 5 receive roughly 75.75% support, which is strong. It's highest for Bryant Pool, followed by the Ice Arena, Winslow Sports Park, and then Twin Lakes. I'll caution you, though, that you'll see from those the colored segments of the bars that most of that support is somewhat support. So clearly people are favorable of the concept, but obviously the details in terms of what kinds of improvements, what the timeline would be, how much higher would user fees or taxes be to pay for those will obviously be important to them. Mills Pool rounded out the list, but it still has a very high level of support over opposition, just over 2 to 1. I will call out that while overall support for Mills Pool is a little bit lower, its percentage of strong support is about as high as the top two items above, Brian Poole and Southern. So something else to keep in mind in terms of this context. And then on the next slide, we again asked, well, if the Parks and Rec Department could only do one of those, what do you think should be its number one priority, knowing that it would likely mean higher fees and/or property taxes? In that context, Brian Poole comes up most often. Support for Brian Poole is especially strong in the southeast region, but also among the newest residents to Bloomington. The second top response was none of these are a priority. And again, these are people who think that these locations or these facilities are in good shape, or they simply don't want to pay more to have those improved. That 24% at the bottom tends to be the oldest, most long-term local residents, those without children, and people who aren't participating in the department's programs. With regard to the pools on the next slide, again, we reminded people that both of the outdoor pools are in need of major repairs and improvements, and we were interested in which of these options they would support more if these were the options available to them. Just over half would support improving one of the pools and converting the other one to a splash or spray playground facility, versus 33% who would like to see a new aquatic center or outdoor pool that replaces both of the two existing school pools. And then only 12% supported making improvements to one of the two pools, but closing the other. The fourth option to close both pools was supported only by 2%. So again, the two biggest options among these options is to improve one and convert the other, or provide a new one that replaces the two existing pools. We then move on to questions about participation and attendance in department-sponsored programs and events. Nearly half said someone in their household had attended something in the past year or participated in something. And of those attendees and participants, their overall satisfaction, again, is very much in line with the high satisfaction scores that we saw with the parks and playgrounds and trails and facilities, averaging 8.4, with just over half saying that they're completely satisfied with those. Again, if anybody gave a lower score, we asked an open-ended to find out with which program or event and what the issue was. Those are provided in the full report, but it was literally a handful of people who were less satisfied with programs and events. We then asked about a similar demand analysis for programs and age-based activities, as well as events. You can see that interest and demand is highest, obviously, for the farmers markets. The only wrap I saw in the farmers markets is people want more of them in more locations. They love the farmers markets. Outdoor concerts is a close second. Roughly a third express an interest in natural resources education, as well as gardening and orchard programs. The level of demand for very specific types of activities for youth age groups is shown there, mostly in the 3 to 5% range, but again, people could provide multiple responses across those. And then it's higher for the 18 to 59-year-old age group. Sports for that adult age group is fairly high, but it's a little bit higher for visual and performance arts, as well as basic recreation or enrichment programs. And then when we plot how well those activities are being met or readily available, the good news is that the two that are most popular, farmers markets and outdoor concerts, people feel that they have pretty easy access to and are in good supply. The bottom right quadrant also shows that for lower priority activities, those are likewise readily available. Natural resources education, both youth sports and visual and performance arts for ages 5 through 12, as well as slightly to a lesser extent, recreational and enrichment programs for that age group, as well as teen sports for ages 13 to 15. To the left of that, in the lower left quadrant, these are where the gaps are, where the percentage who are expressing an interest or demand on the vertical axis are also reporting less than a majority saying these are readily available to them. And you can see most of these, again, are centering around adult and active older adult programs, especially recreational, basically all the categories for the 18 to 59-year-old, recreation enrichment, visual performance arts, and adult sports, as well as programs for those ages 60 and up. The gardening and orchard program is close to being a majority of needs being met or interest being met, as is preschool programs at the very bottom there. So the biggest opportunities here are for adult programming. And again, we have other questions in the full report, open-ended questions that articulate this in respondents' own words. When we ask what the number one priority should be for the Parks and Rec Department to add, improve, or expand in terms of events and programming, again, they love the farmers market, they love the outdoor concerts, they want to see those maintained. And then each of the remaining categories garnered between 5% and 9% of a priority. So it's beyond those top two events, it's really spread out in terms of the types of activities and programs that people are interested in. Again, the full report provides profiles of those who place gardening and orchard programs as their top priorities, as opposed to sports for adults 18 to 59, as opposed to programs for adults 60 plus. And then we wrap up the survey by asking residents where they go for information about the Parks and Rec Department, its programs, the parks, its services. The light orange responses are multiple responses, so we ask them to select as many as possible. You can see here that a lot of residents are omnivores. They're going to multiple sources, and again, those are skewing more toward the more engaged park and facility and program participants. A slight majority rely on word of mouth. Almost as many go to the department or the city website or refer to the printed program. About a third rely on signage at your locations or your social media posts. And then after that, 21% mention the digital program guide. So the printed versus the digital guide as a source gets better than 2-to-1 usage or reference over the digital guide. We then wrap up by asking, well, which one of these is your primary source? And while initially word of mouth was the top multiple response, it quickly drops off and is replaced by the printed guide as the top response as their primary resource at 29%, followed closely by the city and department website at 23%. And then everything else receives just 10% or less of the overall response. I'm happy to answer any questions or talk about anything that surprised you or didn't surprise you here.
Just kind of echo, having looked over the slides earlier, how wonderful it is that that people feel like they have such good interaction with the staff. I mean, that is not surprising, but it's really, nice confirmation to see, and a lot of other positive things for us to think about. So, Any other comments or questions for Jeffrey? No? Okay. All right, thank you again for that.
Pleasure.
And then in section E, do we have any public comment here or online?
If you're online and want to make a comment, please raise the hand icon.
Okay, no? Okay, so no public comment this evening, and then we'll go back over to Tim for any additional announcements before we adjourn.
Yeah, first of all, thank you again to Jeff from Acuity for being on with us. I think there's a lot of really great information in that report for us to draw on. We are currently in our master plan working on, identifying our priority goals, which we'll be bringing up with the final plan. And we know those surround our community impacts, investing in what we have, financial sustainability, our staff. Those are main themes that we're looking at with our goals. And I think looking at the community survey gives us just even more information and affirmation that we're on the right track with those goals, that we can see a high percentage of the community. There's things people want, but there's things that are being met pretty well. And so I think it's our task to continue to meet those expectations as well as we can, and answer those community demands with our resources. So that said, just shout out a few other things going on. A few projects are ongoing or wrapped up that you might see or encounter. There's some new interior lights at the Switchyard Pavilion, brightening up the space, especially on some of these dark winter days. Those are great. As Kevin mentioned, the Banneker front steps are nearing completion, and soon we'll be starting a roofing project, a roof and gutter project at Banneker. That should help with some water penetration issues there. Energy efficiency investments have continued. There's new LED lights at Banneker, at the Allison Jukebox building, and this year we're going to be pursuing solar panels on the Allison Jukebox building as well. The Powerline Trail is out to bid. We're very excited to bring that project to fruition this year, hopefully during the summer construction season. The Tree Assistance Program is ongoing and having a big impact. I know the board has heard about that. And, we haven't met since this all happened, but obviously we had a pretty significant snowstorm over the last week there of January, and our staff had to do a lot of work, both at our rec and sports facilities, and getting our programs going or keeping them going. All the snow moved in, like Freeze Fest, Winter Palooza, those things. And then, of course, snow removal efforts afterwards. And I think, the impact of that large snow on the community really showed how important some of these rec facilities, especially our trails, walking paths, things like that, having those cleared for folks can be very impactful to our community health after a big snow like that. So thank you to all of our staff who worked on snow. We're spending a lot of time thinking and working on digital accessibility stuff right now, dealing with an upcoming federal government deadline to work on things like board packet materials and website. Julie has been leading the way on that. And of course, we are in a big seasonal ramp up right now to performing arts series and concerts and the market and all the things that go into that. Really looking forward to getting those again. Obviously, the template agreements tonight, big part of starting to get our vendors and performers and concessionaires signed up to be a part of these community events. I'll just shout out Twin Lakes continues to be really busy between basketball and volleyball on alternating weekends. It seems like a lot going on there as well. So that brings us to the end tonight. Our next meeting is slightly adjusted because of spring break. So rather than being on the week of spring break as it typically would be, we are adjusted to the following Monday, March 23rd at 5 p.m.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tim. And thank you to all the staff who participated this evening. And with that, I'll adjourn the February meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners.